Hi, this is Steven.
And this is Michael, and we are the Movie Bros. Today, our special guest for ScreamFest 2021 is the Horror Miser Monty G. Thank you for joining us, Monty.
Hey.
All right. Thanks for inviting me, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to come on your channel and do this great, wonderful celebration of the Scream franchise.
Awesome. We are so glad to have you. And today, guys, as Monty mentioned, we're going to be diving in to Scream 4, the awesome last film that Wes Craven did for the franchise. And we're going to be diving into it, talking about a lot of things we like, and we're going to celebrate it. It's going to be a real celebration. So thank you guys for watching this video today as part of our ScreamFest 2021. Now, Scream 4 was released on April the 15th, 2011. And in addition to starring the Legacy Trio, we're introduced to an excellent new cast, highlighted by Emma Roberts, who played Jill Roberts, Hayden Panettiere as Kirby Reed, and Marley Shelton as Deputy Judy Hicks. It was, of course, as I mentioned, directed by Wes Craven in his very final directorial movie of his life and his career. And we're going to celebrate that entry tonight. So we're just moments away from diving into some good stuff. But first, Michael has something he wants to share with you.
Before we begin, if you love the Scream franchise, click the like button on this video. And if you'd like to see more content like this, be sure you hit the subscribe and the bell notification so you'll be notified of when we have upcoming content. Also, look below and you'll see our social media, merch store, and our Patreon page links. And finally, a quick shout out to our patrons. We appreciate your support.
Thank you, guys.
And also, we'll have links below for Monty G's channel. So make sure you go see him after you see this video. Yes. Okay, guys, guess what time it is?
It's trailer time.
There's the green screen.
Green screen, the 90s green screen. Well, the 2000s in this case.
Phone call.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh,
yes. Here is my Woodsboro Massacre anniversary question. What is your favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I see a theme there.
Generation's tragedy is the next one's a joke.
What is your favorite scary movie, man?
I'll show you.
This week marks the anniversary of the infamous Woodsboro murders. Local celebrity victim Sydney Prescott chose to return to her hometown.
yes, indeed.
Welcome home, Sydney. Watch the preview of coming events.
What do you want?
Who is this?
He's trying to do Ghostface.
I'm standing in the closet.
Don't open it.
Liar.
Yes, sir.
What's going on? It is not public information.
It's all over the internet.
It is?
Love Dewey.
I know.
There's a killer out there patterning
It is?
his murders after the
Dewey,
original
it's the
movie.
21st century.
Someone new.
Exactly.
The unexpected is the new cliche, and virgins can die now.
Does that mean that I'm not going to live as long as these two?
Clearly. To be the new version, the killer should be filming the murders.
Down! Down behind you!
Go ahead if you have the guts.
Not to implicate him. You can't kill Sydney. She's victim royalty.
Not true.
Sure tried.
It's expendable.
Point taken.
Exactly. Not for lack of trying.
Main cast bloodbath.
Nope.
Fingers crossed on some nudity for a change.
Time for your last question. Name the remake of the groundbreaking.
Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror, Christmas, House of Wax, Pop Night, Night Bloody Valentine. It's one of those, right?
None of the above.
I'll be right back.
Know this one, you're not supposed to say that, are you?
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I sucker punch it for that.
Yeah.
I know, right? Oh. Man, that gets my adrenaline pumping. Just even watching the trailer, I get so caught up in remembering those scenes. Oh, gosh, that was awesome. Well, listen, guys, before we dive into the specific scenes I know we want to talk about, let's discuss Scream 4 first of all from like as an overall umbrella perspective. And I want to remind everyone today that we are going to be giving you spoilers. So just in case you're unaware to this point, spoiler alert, we're going to reveal everything. So if you have not seen the movie, we highly recommend watching it first and coming back. But
10-year-old spoilers.
it's 10 years old, so it's fair game, right, guys? At this point. All right.
I think I'm pretty sure most everyone have seen Scream 4 by now.
Yes, I would think so. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Monty G, as our special guest for the Scream 4 dive in, let's begin with you. Let's talk about your overall thoughts without really getting into specific scenes, just kind of the movie as a whole.
Well, obviously, we got Scream 4 coming out, something no one really anticipated, but I kind of did. I kind of anticipated because even though I felt after Scream 3 was over, I felt this it was over. So when they finally said, let's do another Scream 4, I said, well, that's not surprising. So I like the fact that they actually still went back to the original platform of Scream. This time we're going to poke fun at remakes because almost throughout the past years, we had remakes on almost every horror movie because that seemed to be what Halloween was doing. And while some were successful, some were not. But basically, that's what we have. We see Sydney's coming back to Woodsboro. Everyone's coming back to Woodsboro. We have this new young cast of teenagers. Well, grown people playing teenagers, basically.
Of course. Yes.
And of course, we have a new ghost face that's killing people. And that's basically what the overall story is. Once again, we have the mystery: who are the two killer or killers? Are we going to see the Legacy 3 is now back, or are they one of them actually going to die in this particular film because the gloves are off? Because even they said even the lead is expendable in this one. So that's basically what overall Scream 4 was about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sydney coming back home. We got a new killer. We have a new set of teenagers for Ghostface to kill.
Yes, that's right. The movie that we what we love to see in the first three, we get it all back together for a fourth entry. And you're right, the mystery element is so great to this. It's really for all of the movies for that matter. It's just that's such a great part of it, the whodunit factor involved. And you can have a movie franchise where you have different, well, I guess the same killer in terms of Ghostface in costume, but different killers each movie, which is kind of unique also. But for this movie in particular, as I mentioned at the beginning, just to rehash a little bit, want to give Wes Craven our full respect. Rest in peace, Wes. We miss you. And man, your legacy is incredible. Your films your storytelling was brilliant. And this was, in my book, nothing short of that. I thought that even after the 10-year hiatus after Scream 3 that we get, it was, man, he brought it. He took the gloves off in a lot of ways and brought back a lot of the brutality that we saw in Scream 1 and 2, not as much in his 3. So I thought that, for obviously at the time he didn't know that would be his last Scream film, but looking back, if you're going to end on one, I think that this was a strong film to end on. And another thing that was cool was that Wes was able to reunite with his longtime crew members that he has used on all the Scream movies prior. He was able to get, not only if he got every single one of them, but he was able to get the majority of everyone who worked and all the different things that are involved in making the film, on set, off set, back together. So it really was the gang being back together, not just the legacy actors. So I thought that was really cool. And I think it shows up when you see the movie itself. Now, one thing I do want to mention, I don't know if you guys are aware of or not, but there was an alternate ending originally that Wes was going to do for this film. And it was, instead of starting with the great entry we have now, which I won't get too much into specific scenes, but the great entry that we do have now, what was supposed to have been, or originally was going to be, was a party that Sydney was going to be at, a dinner party with her friends who were celebrating her book publishing. Remember the book Out of Darkness from the movie? Mm-hmm. And they were having a big dinner to celebrate it. And there was going to be a savage attack at the dinner party and was going to stab Neve, or Sydney, and she would have been viciously attacked. And the movie was then going to start 3 years after that. That was the working idea to start with. And then they changed it for what we have now, which I Look, I'm sure it would have been great either way, but personally,
Nah.
I think the one we have is much better. Don't you guys think? I mean,
Yeah, it would have broken the mold. I mean, because you have the
It would.
opening kill scene every movie, and
Right.
having that with the having her come back after 3 years.
Yeah, right. That would have been weird, wasn't it? Like the
Yeah.
timeline. What would have? It just could have been kind of strange, I think. And so I think he made the right call there. And a couple other things too. In the first 3 Scream films, Wes has a cameo. Remember, in all 3.
Oh yeah,
You
he
see-
does. Yes.
Yes. And in 4, he was going to have a cameo. They even filmed the scene. And unfortunately, it was cut from the movie, not because of him, but it's because of time. They went ahead and cut the scene that he was in. But he was originally going to be a coroner in the background of a murder scene that was not shown here. And we almost got him in all 4 on film, or on camera, I should say, but it didn't happen. That's why. So if you're wondering why, was Wes not innocent? Why, or did you miss him? It's not that. His scene was cut, unfortunately. But
Oh.
yeah, it was sad. I wish we could have, especially now. Wish it would have been neat to have him. But one thing I'll say this, and I'll end, and Michael will get to you. But I thought was really cool is that Wes had a tradition of on each film where Roger L. Jackson, the voice of Ghostface, when let's face it, there's no Ghostface without Roger L. Jackson. He brings the mask to life. I mean, it's just incredible voice. And by the way, you guys are probably aware he's also signed on for Scream 5. So
Yes.
very excited he's back as well. But anyway, what was neat though, his tradition when he did the movies, the 4 films, is that he would never let the actors interact with Roger face to face. They could never see him. And to this day, the cast, like Hayden Panettiere was talking about in Kirby and the director's commentary, they still don't know. They still don't even know what he looks like to this day. They've never met him. And Hayden Panettiere gave a great story. She said that she was so determined to find out who this guy is. She wants to see him. And that she knew he was filming, or not filming, but recording his part, or I shouldn't say recording to be really technically specific. They recorded in a studio, but he called them. Wes had them call the actors as they were filming. So when you see them on the phone, they are actually talking to Ghostface, like actually talking to Roger. That's not like just picking up a fake phone and like you might think. And so he literally is calling them because Wes wanted them to have that experience to be as scary as possible. So they wanted the real person talking to him. Anyway, she said, I was determined to try to find him. So there was a van across the street that in one of their scenes locations that he was in, and he was calling them from that van. And she watched it for like 45 minutes while she wasn't being filmed, waiting to see him come out. And she said she turned around for something for less than a minute, and she came back to the window and the van was gone. When she came back, so she's like, I don't know what to do. I gave up. Said I just gave up then. So I was going around opening doors, opening basement doors. I was going all over trying to find him, and she never could find Roger L. Jackson. So good job, Wes, on that. I think that was really cool. I don't know what the guys did in Scream 5 about that part. I haven't heard, but at least for this movie and the other 3, they had no clue who they were talking to. So he was off limits. Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, that's a good way to create drama, is to not have the actor that's being the killer not actually call them up, so that you get the actual authentication on their faces because they're actually talking to. Yeah, because most of the time it's just the script that they're reading from, but he actually had the phone ring and actually speak to them. I thought that was a clever idea. I like that.
Yeah, it really is. It's like you say, usually you'd have just some guy reading the script off camera, but no, he had the actual real voice on the phone, which is that was smart. Wes was a brilliant guy. He was great at what he did, and he always was great about getting the most out of the actors, in the different scenes. Like in Scream 1, when Drew Barrymore was talking to Wes, she says, Wes, how do I get to the depth? I need to get to this depth of anger, and not anger, but anguish and tears and crying, and like it's not fake, And she said, I need to do that. And she has a real sensitivity to animals. She's like really like super protective of animals, and she has a real affinity for like dogs and stuff. So Wes kept telling her, this is you can hear it on the director's commentary. Wes kept telling her a story about a puppy being mutilated Well, she was before they would film. And he's like, every time he would tell the story, she would start sobbing like uncontrollably so they would go action. And so they're filming her with these real tears thinking about this kid. That's what he would do though. Like stuff like that. Just like, it's so cool. It's, it's getting the most out of people. And one last note, I said, Michael, I told you it was only one more. I got one more, just one more this time. Something that I always was wondering about was we see Neil Prescott, Sydney's dad, in Scream 3 near the very beginning. Remember, he's in her house with groceries. Yep. Well, then we never see him again the rest of the movie, and then Scream 4, we never hear about her dad at all. He's in Woodsboro. You would think that he might make an appearance. Well, what we found out was Wes said in the commentary that there was a scene that was cut out where Dewey is talking to someone on camera, and he tells them that, it's been like 3 years since, was it 3 years since Sidney Prescott's father had passed away, that Neil passed away. And this was her first time back to Woodsboro since her father had passed away. And so that was going to be in the movie, so we would have found out, but they ended up cutting it also. So if any of you are watching or wondering whatever happened to her dad in Scream 4, now he passed away after the events of Scream 3.
Did they cut out the scene where he's a ghost in her window?
Well, they did in Scream 4. Now I don't know about Scream 5. We saw her mom in Scream 3.
Yeah, we saw yes.
So maybe we'll see her dad.
I think that's the actress Willie Malik. I think that's the one that's playing that plays her mother, because I've seen her in other shows before, but I think that's her. I haven't verified it, but it does look like her. But you see her ghost in Scream 3.
That's right. Michael, what about you, man? What are your overall thoughts of Scream 4?
Well, I thought it was cool that Wes was able to get David Arquette and who plays Dewey, and Courtney Cox, who played Gail Weathers, to come back and reprise their roles since they had just gotten divorced.
Separated, yeah.
And they were pretending to be a married couple in the movie, Yep. So it's kind of a, kind of funny thing. I thought the intro was more intense and funnier than the other intros for the previous movies. And it's like this movie is coming full circle, where you start off on the first movie with them in Woodsboro, then they go to a college town, then they go to Hollywood, and now they're coming back to Woodsboro. So
yep.
Yeah, it's true. I thought it was really neat to do it, and apparently Scream 5 or Scream 2022 is in Woodsboro also. So
yep. Going back there again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'd want to move out. I don't think I'd just find me a new town. I don't know about Woodsboro, man.
Yeah, I'd rather live in Amityville.
Gosh, that's awesome.
All right.
So long as I'm not at that house.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard that. Nowhere on the street, nowhere in the neighborhood. See me in another neighborhood.
All right, so let's jump into like our favorite scenes of Scream 4. Monty, since you're here and you're rubbing your hands, we'll let you go first.
Can't wait,
I'm pretty sure, since you guys saw my video, what my favorite scene in Scream 4 was, and that was Kirby re-signing all the remakes that she had to go. Yes. And when you're hearing her say all the remakes, you're like, God damn, they remake all those horror movies? It's like, yeah, because everyone she cites, there's a remake of it, because you hear her say this one, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Prom Night, My Bloody Valentine, Dawn of the Dead. And it's like, they remake that. No, Prom Night, they remake. Like, God damn, they remake. And then they did. And that's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. And I really got to give Henny Paratelli credit for the acting on that scene, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know how many takes it took for her to do that, but the fact that that one scene was decent. That's what I really love about Scream 4 is that particular scene that she does.
That was, in fact, on that particular scene, they talking about it in the director's commentary, Wes was like, I even said, I don't know how she memorized all of those titles to just rip off like that in such rapid succession too. It's like you don't even have time to think. Like, you know, when you're thinking of what to say, sometimes you kind of slow down and get your next thought together. But she's just like bang, 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 bang. It's pretty awesome scene. That was awesome. Anything else, Monty? Any other favorite scenes that you want to talk about?
I think I guess another one of my favorite scenes is when I forget the girl's name, Chrissy, the one that went across the street. I think that's what her name was, Chrissy, the one
the one that died across the street.
Yeah, one that died across. I think her name was
That's
Chrissy.
Olivia.
Olivia. Yeah, Olivia. The one she gets killed. I think that was one of the goriest kill scenes I've seen in the entire franchise. I say, wow, they went there with this one because you do get kills, but you don't get the gore.
Right.
And you get the blood and you get the kills, but you don't get the gore. Yeah. Maybe you get like the goriest they ever got was the first scene when her boyfriend Scott gets gutted open and gets and you see some intestines fall out, but not as gory as that scene right there. I think it's another best scene just as well. They went there because that was a gory kill.
It really was. I was like, okay, when I saw that scene, I'm like, okay, all right, Wes, let's go. Like, we're rolling the sleeves up. We're bringing it, man. We're not, especially coming off of Scream 3, which was the least gory of all the Scream films.
I thought the Drew Barrymore scene when they see her hanging from the tree and she's, steam's coming up and she's got her intestines laying out there too,
hanging out, dude.
I was like, man, they kind of like, and then the one with Olivia, they didn't hold back. It was pretty nasty.
No, they didn't. And the version of the Scream version of Scream 1 that was in theaters, unfortunately, was not Wes Craven's director's cut, which was the first cut he wanted. And the theatrical version, which is all you can get right now on DVD, is the version where when she turns the light on and sees Steve, his stomach is open and you see his entrails there. And in the original version, the director's cut, that only was released on Laserdisc in 1997. That actual version, Wes has it where when she turns the light on, you see the entrails falling out, like literally falling in motion, versus just being a shot of them out. And the ratings group, my name's slipping my mind, but anyway, the folks
the MPAA.
Yes, the MPAA were like, nope, sorry, can't do it. NC-17 rating. So they had to go back. And same way with Drew Barrymore, that scene that Mike was talking about, whenever they're zooming in on the body that's hanging, her body, it's a really quick zoom. And the original version he wanted was a much slower zoom, where they're going really slow in on her body, so you see it for a lot longer. And they're like, nope, it's too long. You got to cut this shorter. So they sped it up, the zoom, and that was one thing else they had to cut back on. But there's rumor that the new Scream release is coming out on October 19th on 4K Steelbox Blu-ray.
I saw that actually today.
Yeah, there's rumors going around and that is going to include the director's cut, but I cannot find confirmation from anyone credible that I trust that is actually the fact. So I don't believe it till I see it. I think it's going to be the theatrical version, and I don't know. Maybe one day Paramount will release that director's cut because they've got it. It's there in the vault. So I don't know why they won't let it go. But anyway, I rabbit trail. This isn't a Scream discussion, but I had to mention that because it's like, we start talking Scream, man. I gotta stay focused. I'll go everywhere, All right, sorry, Mike, did I interrupt you there?
Oh no, you're fine. Monty, do you have any more scenes you want to talk about, or is that?
Oh no, those are the main two.
Okay. All right. The ones that one of my favorites was, it was unexpected that Charlie would be the killer to me, and he would kill Kirby, especially after they just started, they had the kissing moment,
Yeah.
So that shows how kind of twisted he was. When
what did he say? Hey, Mike, what did he say to her? He said, 4 years.
Yeah.
You ignore me.
You ignore me, and now you're showing interest in me.
Yeah, that's right. Now you're showing interest. Like, Too late.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It
Um,
is. It is.
Yeah, and then the Olivia scene when
Mm.
Kirby's talking to Ghostface on the phone, and he's
Mhm.
like, "I'm in the closet," and they're looking. She's like, "I'm not in the closet," and he goes, "Well, I didn't say I was in your closet,"
Oh, dude. I
and
know.
he jumps
That's
out.
a great line.
Yeah.
It is.
So, and then also the scene where Ghostface calls Jill in the very first scene
Mhm.
of the when you first see Jill in the first time,
With Kirby,
it totally
yeah.
totally throws off Jill
Mhm.
as a
Mhm.
suspect.
Yes.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is in the barn when they're having the party, the stab party. You see so many Easter eggs on there, and one that stands out to me is when Gail walks in with the ghost face on, and right behind her is a wall, and they have it looking like the garage door in Scream, and they have
Oh, yes.
what was her name?
Tatum.
Tatum. They have Tatum hanging
Tatum.
out of the dog door in the garage door.
It's pretty cool.
I caught that. I started cracking up laughing.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah.
threw in
Uh-huh.
there. That was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
it,
Crazy stuff.
it is. And that line you mentioned about I never said I was in your closet. I mean, that's to me, that's for some reason I love that line. It's like to me one of the most memorable of the movie. Kind of like from Scream 1, live her alone.
Yeah.
Remember with Stu, just leave her alone. I'll never forget that line. And I never said I was in your closet. I mean, that's just, man, that's a tight line. It was really well done. And a funny story real quick about that. So Wes was talking about how he would prank the actors in that scene. For example, they did one take where he actually put his the Ghostface stuntman actor in the closet.
Mhm.
And of course, the script reads, it's an empty closet, it's closed. So Hayden's preparing to do the scene like normal. So she rips open the door and he like jumps out at her. She's like screams at the top of her lungs, and she's like completely shocked. Well, then Anthony, help me out, guys. What's Anthony's last name? The cop.
Anthony Anderson. Anthony Anderson.
Thank you, Anthony Anderson. They got him too, and so they had it set up the same way. He came up there to check the closet, and he jumped out at him and said he scared him so bad. He not only did he yell, but he started walking backwards and tripped over his feet and fell on the bed. It was like totally terrified. I'm like, and they did it to most of the cast at one point or another. They would get him with surprise jump scares. That's how Wes was. Like, I'm just going to torment my people. I want to get them, and he'd laugh at it, and it was great. So I'll never forget that, connection with the whole closet scene. That was pretty awesome. Mike, do you have any more scenes that you want to talk about?
Nope, that's it. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I got a couple others I can add to the mix. One of them being we got some new rules of horror. We did have Randy, but no Randy this time, who gave us the first 3 movies. But this time we have some new rules. The first rule is that the unexpected is the new cliche. That's the first rule. The second rule that Charlie gave was that you got to have an opening sequence that blows the doors off, which we've already said we're doing spoiler alerts. So how about that stab 6 and 7 beginning for Scream 4? Was that not blowing the doors off? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which was pretty good, because I'm glad they decided to do something a little bit different than the same 3 scenes that we've seen in all 3 movies. So I said, well, at least that's interesting. I like that. I love it when directors and filmmakers try to do something different than it hasn't been before. It lets me know that at least they're thinking.
Yes, they're not just showing up for a check. They're showing up to bring something. Yeah. Number 3, the rule was the kills must be way more extreme. And we've already talked about poor Olivia. That was a very extreme kill. And there was a couple. There's another one that I consider in the extreme category, but I'm going to save it for later on when we talk about our favorite kills. But that was rule 3. Rule 4 was that the audiences are savvy to the originals, so the reversals become the new standard. And that the only way to survive a horror movie, this is my second most memorable line of the movie, the only way to survive a modern horror movie is to be gay. And this ended up being very meta within the movie because why? Later on, he gets stabbed, right? And he tells Ghostface, he's like, wait. After he's been stabbed, he says, I'm gay. If that matters at all, or if that helps any. And of course, the killer looks at him like sideways and then he kills him. But that would happen if Scream 4 was following the new rules, because if the only way to survive is in this movie to be gay, well, then the new standard is to be a reversal of the rule, which is rule number 4. So I'm getting a little heady, but if you think about it, they are actually demonstrating their own awareness of rule 4 in the film because they're reversing rule 5 because he was gay and he got killed anyway.
Yep.
But then, the Jill had her own rule, and I think it trumped everything else, and that was she was going to be the sole survivor.
Yep.
Oh, the sole survivor. Well, and then I think Sydney, perhaps I'll even trump that. I think Sydney gives us the best rule of all when you're doing horror remakes. Don't F with the original.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you beat that? When she said that, it's like I clap every time. I'm like, yes, right.
I know when I saw this in theaters, I thought I heard a few people clap when she said that line.
Probably. I would have been one of them if I'd have been with you, because even to this day, I love that. I'm like, that's just the perfect line. Oh, it's so good. So anyway, we talked about that. And then honestly, some more favorite scenes. Last one I'll talk about was the entire final act, as broad as that sounds. The last 30 minutes of the movie are my favorite scenes because we get the after party at the house that you guys were alluding to earlier, where they have just the very small injured group there. And we're getting down to the wire now. I'm wondering who's the killer, Trevor and Charlie and Kirby and Jill and, everybody's there together. But that was great. And then the hospital scene, just the entire hospital sequence where Jill's there and they think, Dewey's talking to her and she, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I can write a book with Gail. And he's like, well, there's a chance Sid might make it. She's in ICU. She might make it. And she's like, oh, you could just see the motors going.
I know, you can see it.
Yeah, and I'm like,
she flipped the switch.
She flipped the switch. And then the minute that Dewey walks out, her face turns from the smiling, like empathetic to just straight hardcore, like no emotion, ripping out the cords, the IV. And then the whole sequence that follows with her and Sydney is just great. So, I hate to be so broad, but I'll have to say the final act is one of my favorites of all the films. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead now. And we've talked about our favorite scenes. So let's transition to what I'm saying is our favorite kill, or what death impacted you the most, whichever way you want to come from on that. Monty, let's go ahead and start with you, man, as our guest. What would you say is your favorite kill of the movie?
My favorite kill would probably have to be actually in the beginning, the stab when we have
nice.
Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell. Obviously Kristen Bell from Veronica Mars and Anna Paquin from True Blood, and the fact that she's pissed off Kristen Bell's character so much that she actually stabs her.
I love it.
I just love it because it was just so funny, and I'm pretty sure the two ladies probably had fun making that scene right there.
I bet.
I bet scene right there, because we really don't see Kristen Bell in horror movies.
No.
Or any of that type genre. So to actually see her in that particular setting, that really cracked me up.
That's a great point.
It was a great point. So just to see that, we used to see. Obviously, Anna Paquin, for the 7 years she was in True Blood, so we've seen her in that type of setting. But this one right here, that was funny.
It was totally unexpected.
Yeah, totally unexpected. Yeah, so that was my favorite kill. It was favorite because it was so unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, I love the line that it was, and the line Anna keeps talking about. She's just ragging on Stab series. Why you watch this stuff? It's the same stuff over and over. It's so predictable. And then all of a sudden it's like bam, knife to the gut, you know. bet you didn't see that coming, did you? I'm like, oh my god.
Now shut the
Exactly. And watch the movie. Like, dude. It's just like going back to eating her popcorn, you know, and the girl's like, oh, that's yeah, that was awesome. That was fantastic. I'll go next. For my favorite kill, I think it has to be Deputy Perkins, Anthony Anderson, butcher knife to the forehead in the police car. Now, I'll tell you what, that was another one where we had never seen anything like that in a Scream film. That was something different. It was not just a stab to the body. This was a head stab. And what's awesome about this scene is Wes actually created that kill while they were filming it, because what Kevin Williamson, as he's prone to do, just will say stuff like, Wes makes this scene scary, or or he does this kind of stuff. Well, this scene was similar. This scene just says Deputy Perkins gets stabbed. That's it. There was no other facts or anything around it than that. So Wes said, okay, he said, without telling the studio heads that approved the script that was just going to be stabbed, he said, I didn't ask for approval. He said, when we go to film, he said, I tell my prop guys and everyone involved, I said, hey, we're changing this to the forehead. And they're like, okay, you call the shots. And so Wes said, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something that was not seen much, And then he said, a lot of people have asked me, is that even possible? It's, a lot of people will see that scene, they say, oh, that's not real. You can't stab someone like that. He said, it actually is possible. He said, I knew of a story of a guy who walked into an emergency room with a bayonet through his forehead to the back of his head. And he was conscious. He was actually conscious at the hospital. And he said, so I know it can happen. It actually can happen. And he was able to speak to the doctor. So he said, we're doing knife to the forehead. That's what he told his team. So they did it. And he said, the studio never said a word. I never heard back from the studio. So, we went with it.
I want to know about the bayonet in the head. Did the guy live?
I don't know. All I know is the guy was there.
I've heard of such things about how you can get stabbed in the brain and still live, depending upon where in certain parts of the brain. Because most people know you don't have any nerves. There's no nerves in the brain itself.
Yeah.
But like I said, so there are sometimes you can get shot in the brain, but it depends upon where, and you can't survive. You can't survive, but it depends on where. But unfortunately, yeah. But my only thing that I was a little bit hesitant about that kill is knowing how thick the skull is. You really have to have some strength in order to penetrate, because the skull is a very thick bone.
Yes.
A very thick bone, and you really have to have some type of sharp instrument and strength in order to penetrate it.
Yeah. Well, I figure, Charlie was probably down about 10 Red Bulls because he had to have so much energy for that night of killing. So he was probably pretty hyped up and he was ready to go. And anytime there's a scene like that where I always say this, I say, you know what? Our world is not Wes's world, man. This is, when you the minute you push play, we are in Wes's world. We're not in our world. So much like when you watch a fantasy movie or you watch a movie where there's magic in it or something, Lord of the Rings or something, we're watching. We never sit there and say, well, that can't happen. You can't just walk out there and make this. Of course not. But this is because we're no longer in our world. We're in the world of those creators. And in their world, this does happen. This can happen. So I always keep that in my mind as I watch movies that are, anything like this. You're watching a film. You're watching a creative idea. And
you're watching someone's idea, and in this particular universe, as opposed like say in the MCU, this stuff happens, or even in the Conjuring universe, this is what happens in their universe. So that's why I enjoy when I see a creator's mind at work, and he does bring up something that's somewhat possible in the real world, in our reality, but then he
Yeah.
takes advantage of it and puts the little sprinkles in there into the world that he's creating.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's fantastic, man. Michael, I'm really curious to hear what your favorite kill, or what death impacted you the most.
Okay,
in Scream.
I had two that impacted me
Okay.
because I don't really have favorite kills, but
Yeah.
the
right.
ones that impacted me was Kirby's death,
Mm,
because she had so many feelings for Charlie, and she was so freaked out that he was going to die, and she ran out there, and the betrayal of being killed by the guy she was trying to save impacted me.
Yep.
And then the other one is actually Kate Roberts, who was
Oh.
Sydney's aunt in the movie
Yes.
when she's
Right.
murdered. And I'm thinking, how can you be so emotionless and so unfeeling that you kill your mom like that when she's provided you a good home, good family life, and
I
you just
know.
have to kill her because that's how it is with Sydney.
Yep.
So
Man,
I'm just crazy.
Sydney's mom died, so she even says that. Remember at the end, she's like, "So I had to kill my own mom so I could match what Sydney went through." I'm
Yep.
like, dude, yeah, that's she. I'll have to say this, that Jill, in my opinion, is one of the absolute most psychotic and brutal of all of the killers. I think that what we see from and I may be jumping the gun a little bit, but that's okay. We'll get to it. But my thing is this. I think I probably am jumping the gun, but it's, hey, it's our show, right, guys?
It
we can do what we
Hey,
want.
look, it's
It's ScreamFest. It's our stuff. We can do it. So I'll just say this, and we might revisit it in a moment, but man, one of the things about this film, Jill and Wes too, bringing back the brutality and the whole ending of that movie where we see how just sick and just sick Jill is, man. Like your point, Mike, you just made, and Monty, you did earlier as well. But just the fact that she does all of this, but not only that, the self-mutilation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, that's like it reminds me of like Billy and Stu. It's that psychotic level of just, well, if they keep stabbing each other, like they can't stop. It's like they're addicted to the carnage. But to see Jill after she kills everybody, to do what she did to herself, I'm like, this is just next level of brutality. That's the way that's my view of Jill. And so, anyway, Mike, back to you, man. We'll move on.
All right, let's move on to the next section of who are your favorite Scream characters or character not named Dewey, Gale, or Sydney. And Monty G, you're on stage.
Favorite character has got to be Kirby. Because I have had a hashtag ever since when they announced that Scream 5 was going to come out. I said, bring back Kirby. Please bring back Kirby.
Yes, wouldn't that be great? Oh my God.
I would love to see Kirby come back. I don't know if she is or she's not, because I haven't seen anything about Hayden Panettiere coming back or not. But yeah, I would love to see Kirby return. Even though a lot of people are talking about what's his name? His name escapes me. Stewie's supposed
Matthew
Lillard.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard is supposed to be coming back again, but then no. But I would love to see Kirby come back because she is my favorite character of Scream 4.
I love that, and I saw that when you and I were communicating in an email, and you responded back on one of your first emails was hashtag bring back Kirby. That's like, that made me laugh. I'm like, all right, man, that's awesome.
All right, well, I'll go next.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters in the movie was Anthony Anderson, Deputy Perkins.
Yeah.
I think he was I've always liked him. He's always been a funny guy, and he plays the roles really well. And another person I really liked who was kind of a good supporting role was Eric Knudsen, who was Robbie Mercer, one who
Robbie,
yeah.
Camera on his head, right?
With the camera on his head.
Yeah, he always had the camera on his head, and I really liked him, and I was sad to see him die. But all right, Steve, how about you?
Well, I've let the cat out of the bag, I think, just a little bit, but that's all right. My favorite character outside of our legacy cast, as much as I love Kirby and I love and Mike, the
Charlie, right?
No, not Charlie. My favorite character is Jill Roberts, played by Emma Roberts. Absolutely, hands down. I think she's like I just said. I'm not going to repeat myself again, but I think that it was simply she was a fantastic mastermind, a fantastic ghost face. We don't know how much of the killing she did. Obviously, Charlie probably did a lot, but I think she was actively one of the killers as well. And her level of dementia, again, I think dementedness, I think we see reaching the levels of Billy and Stu. And I think that we haven't seen that kind of just sheer brutality in a ghost face since Billy and Stu. Not taking away anything from Billy's mom and Mickey and from Roman, not taking away from those guys in their movies, but I'm just saying this, like I said, the self-mutilation, all the stuff that we saw was just like brutal. This was brutal to me. So I thought her performance, Emma, was a great job, did a great job. And the other thing I love is that I never guessed it was her. And Wes Craven nailed it. I never thought it was her. When she took the mask off, I was genuinely surprised. I really was. And I don't know.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised too, because that I was not expecting her.
No.
Expecting her. So I was a bit surprised. So I was even surprised. I was more surprised about Charlie than I was about Jill, because I did not expect Charlie to be one of the killers. I was like, wow, that's a good one. I like that. Wasn't expecting him. And then like, wow, Jill? Emma Roberts' character? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You did a good job here, Kevin.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really great writing by Kevin. And I love Scream 3. I know we talked about that in our last video on ScreamFest. You guys need to go watch it if you haven't. It's a great movie. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it to this day. But we missed the writing of Kevin Williamson on Scream 3. And I think that having Kevin back with Wes in this one, you could feel it. I felt like this was a Scream movie. This was what we remember from Scream 1 and 2. You know, this was that feel was there. So Jill Roberts, or Emma Roberts, I should say, hats off to you for playing a great Jill Roberts. Okay, so guys, let's transition here towards our final thoughts overall on Scream 4, how we feel about the movie. Now, we're not ranking them just yet. Monty, feel free to rank it if you'd like. Mike and I are ranking our video in the final ScreamFest video. So Mike and I will abstain from ranking this in the franchise, but you're welcome to. But just your overall thoughts and about the movie.
Well, like I said, it was a return to what made the first two Scream great horror movies, great slasher films. You know, a lot of people said that at that time, we really haven't had any good slasher horror films at that time before Scream came out. We had some decent horror films, but not a good slasher films, because, you know, the big three, Freddy, Jason, and Michael, were kind of waning at the time.
Yes,
you know, didn't have any real popular, because I said this before in one of my videos before, that at the time we really didn't have a because I think one of my another YouTuber had said about his response to about Scream revitalized the horror genre. And I do agree, but I don't think it revitalized it. I think at the time was that we didn't have a great slasher series as opposed to Freddy, Jason, and Michael, and that's what Scream did. It's like, wow, we got ourselves another slasher icon, and that's what Scream did. But as far as Scream 4 is concerned, I like the overall story plot. You know, not just seeing the Legacy 3, but seeing some new characters that we cared about. And I actually like the fact that hopping back on Jill's motives, she had one of the best motives outside of Billy and Stu, even though Stu said it was peer pressure. because when you look at her motivation and looking at how even back then how much people are influenced to be what they call influencers now, you know, this obsession to be popular online, and that's what she wanted. She wanted to become popular, because her line says, friends, I don't want friends, I want followers.
That's right. Bingo. I want fans and followers. Yeah, that's right.
I want fans and followers, because that's how you become popular. So I thought that out of all out of all the killers in the
Mhm.
series, she is the second best killer
Yep.
outside of Billy Loomis.
Bingo. I'm with you.
Mm.
100%, man. We and I are tracking, man. 100% on that. And it was almost ahead of it was almost ahead of their time. You know, this is
Mhm.
2011. It was filmed in 2010, and look how far we've come in the last 11 years with social media. I mean,
Mhm.
when I see her give that line at the end, I'm like, man, that could have been made this year.
Yeah,
Like
no, yeah. I mean, because you got all these other horror movies that are based on like Unfriended,
yeah.
and there's another one called Friend's Request. Then
Mhm.
all these other horror movies that are based on social media. There's this one called I forgot the name of it. It was about an app that would predict that you die. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, I know. I can't think of the name of it either. I know the movie, but
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
dark web or something? I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, it's Unfriended Dark Web.
Unfriended dark web. That's okay. That's the one I'm
That's
thinking
the,
of.
that's
Yeah.
the sequel. So you see all these horror movies now that are using social
Mhm.
media as a way to scare people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you
That's
think
right.
about it, YouTube had only been out for like 5 years
Yes.
Mhm.
when they filmed this,
True.
and people were, you know, just coming up to, you know, how many thousands of how many thousands of people can be my subscribers and viewers, and
Mhm.
you know, so yeah,
Yeah.
it was beyond its time, you know,
It
for
was.
what they were trying to do, and
That's right.
yeah, it's pretty intense.
That's awesome, man.
Hmm.
Well, I'll just mention a couple of things on my final thoughts. I know we've already talked about being Wes's final film. There was another thing that he did. He was an executive producer, and actually the movie came out the year he passed away. And
Mhm.
I remember seeing him in an interview talking about it, and probably in 2014. But the movie came out in 2015 called "The Girl in the Photographs," and he was executive producer of the film. And it didn't come out, like I say, till after he passed on August the 15th. I believe it was August 15th of 2015. But anyway, that middle of August. Anyway, the movie came out after that. But they had a card on the movie at the credit when the credits start that says "For Wes" in the
Mhm.
credits, which is really nice. He was real, hands on with the movie. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, guys. The Girl in the Photograph. I watched it because of Wes Craven's last film. He had
Mhm.
he had a hand in, and it was so dark. Oh my gosh! I'm not here to
Yeah,
talk about that movie.
I've heard. Yeah, I heard of it, but I have not seen it.
If you like dark horror, I mean,
Mhm.
it's the kind of movie when you turn it off, you're like, man, I don't think I ever want to watch this movie again. It's like just I feel like I'm in the dumps. So
Mhm.
it's that kind of movie. It's pretty powerful in a very
Mhm.
dark way. But anyway, and then the last thing I want to mention that Wes Craven did that same year of his passing, he was the executive producer of season 1 of Scream TV, the series on MTV. They gave him executive producer title for second and third after he had passed, which I thought was really cool. But for the first year, he was involved in the creative process. He consulted with the writers, and he actually was contracted to direct the pilot episode of season 1, and then several months ahead of time. And then all of a sudden, when it was getting ready time to do it, they announced that he was not going to be able to direct the film. He had with other projects or other things going on, but he was still involved with the creative process. Well, none of us knew that the reason he couldn't direct it was because of his brain cancer. And we didn't find that out until later. He wasn't able to work. And so it was really sad when we found out when he passed what happened. But what's really kind of in a very poetic kind of way, the very final episode of Scream season 1, the last season he worked on, aired just after he passed away. It aired the same week he passed away was the same week the final episode aired of Scream 1 season 1.
Yeah, because I remember that because I don't know if y'all guys saw it. I actually saw all 3 seasons of the Scream TV show, and so when he had passed, like, damn, that's sad. So I went on ahead and watched it. It was actually I actually enjoyed the Scream, the first 2 seasons of the TV show. The third season, I don't want to get too much into it,
right?
But basically, I picked out the twist 20 minutes after the first 20 minutes in the first
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, and it's always disappointing when that happens, you know. They brought Roger L. Jackson back, but that was to do the Ghostface voice. But
Which it was good hearing him
it was
because I not to get off get off topic, but I like the fact that they decided to do something different with the Scream TV show and have a different killer,
right?
You know. But I thought after the 2 seasons and after the special summer episode that they did, I think, okay, we had enough of these characters.
Right. Yeah. And Wes wasn't there after the first season too, you know, which could have had an influence on that. And but anyway, I just wanted to mention that, you know, regarding Wes before we ended up. And my final thought on Scream 4, and I'll turn it over to you, Mike, is that it was a extremely strong sequel even after a 10-year gap. I thought the movie felt cohesive. It felt tight. It felt like I was watching the first Scream or the second Scream. And again, I think Kevin Williamson was the difference. I think Wes did all he could with Scream 3, and it was a decent movie. I like it. But I think that with Kevin back in, it was like hand in glove team, and you could feel it. The new cast was great, as Monty, as you mentioned earlier. And anyway, I just think it was very well done. And I still to this day enjoy watching it. Every time I see it, I still tense up and I still, you know, enjoy all the scenes. So those are my final thoughts. Michael, what about you, man? What'd you think about the movie? Final thoughts.
I think that they came back to more of the Scream ideals than they did on the third one. You know, with the third one, they had all those issues. So they brought it back to the fourth one, and they came back with ideals. They, you know, like the intro was beyond what they usually did, but it still was part of what was going on with the kill scene in the very first opening scene. Also with Kevin Williamson writing, it seemed like in his movies it's more of let's get together and show film that goes through everyday things that are going on currently, like current events. Like in Scream, it was you know, cell phones had just come out basically, and you know that's going on. They showed the high school kids doing their thing back in the late 90s, and then in this one it's high school kids in the 2011, you know, and it's more internet and driven videos, and so it was more current events, which, you know, is pretty cool because people can relate to the movie that way. And I think it was a lot gorier, which a lot of people wanted, and you know, it was a great movie, you know. So I think think it was good. That's all I gotta say. All right. So now let's Monty G, let's discuss your channel. So for those of you who may be new to the channel, please give them a taste of what's in store for them when they come to your channel.
I see. Well, basically, I review horror movies. I do trailer reactions. I have live streams that I have. I am part of 2 groups that I have live streams with. One is the Horror Hangout live stream, which I'm wearing a t-shirt from my good friend Sean Patrick Urshan from the Horror Corner. So definitely check out one of our live stream. I'm also part of a live stream with my good friend the Night Watch Zone, and we call it's Night and the Deadly Venoms. We basically do a stream once a month on both of those. I also of course I review horror movies. I also have video discussions. I am also because I grew up more. I'll be 58 in 2 weeks. So I watched horror movies since I was around 5 or 6 years old, watching old school horror films such as the Universal monsters, the sci-fi monster pictures in the 50s and 60s, especially watching more and more horror movies. So most of the time you'll see me always refer back to some of the old school horror films. But that's basically what you're going to see in my on my channel. Watch reviewing horror movies, and of course, I do review, because I am a DC Marvel fan, more Marvel than DC. So I review, Marvel movies, DC films, and because I think I just reviewed the Suicide Squad. That I reviewed that the
Nice.
Suicide Squad that's up on my channel, and that's basically what you see. What you see right here is what you're going to get when you view my channel.
Very cool.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to seeing your review of the Suicide Squad. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I definitely gonna be checking it out because that's a movie I've heard a lot of good
Yeah.
things about, and so I'm actually really tempted to see that movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll have to check out your video first to make sure and see what your non-spoiler review is going to give us. See what you think. But guys, listen again. I want you guys to please go to his channel. I know Mike mentioned it. Monty G is a great guy. I love his videos. He just did a review that I want to mention that I really enjoyed for you guys to check out on his channel. I would recommend starting there. Just my personal opinion. I love the video. It's fairly recent. It's called The Boy Behind the Door. And I watched Monty's review of that, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the review. It got me to the point where I really am interested to watch this movie that I'd never heard of before watching it. And so that says a lot. So when you go to his channel, look for the video, The Boy Behind the Door review. And I would highly encourage you to watch that. And I think you'll enjoy it. And all of his videos are great. We have a good time watching his stuff.
Yeah, because as you could probably tell, and because when I review a lot of independent horror films, I wasn't expecting that a lot out of the film, but I was so impressed by not how the film was made, but by the child actors. You know, both the child actors were great in the film. So it really was a lot better than I expected to be. So you can hear that in my inflection when I review it.
Yeah, definitely can, for sure. And that's what got me interested. I'm like, okay, I need to find this movie and watch it. So anyway, his stuff's really great, guys. So his channel link is in the description below. So when we get done here, be sure you click there, go to his page and leave him a comment and say hello. Let him know that you came over from the ScreamFest. We'd all like to hear that. And we think you'll really love his stuff. If this is your first time watching a ScreamFest video, please look at our channel. We have a playlist. We break down every other film, just like we did this for Scream 4, we did for Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, and yes, Scream 5, which has not been released yet, but we dive into that deeply with one of our guests, Killjoy Jake. And we also, finally, will give you our franchise rankings of the Scream films. So we'll tell you our Scream 1 through 4 rankings. Mike and I will let you know how we rank the films at the very end. So check it out here on the channel. We hope that you'll enjoy those. We hope you've enjoyed this video as well. So Monty G, I want to thank you, the Horror Miser himself. Thank you for being our special guest today as we looked back at Scream 4. We really appreciate you joining us today.
All right, thank you guys for inviting me. It was great to talk about one of my favorite. Actually, I would say this is my second favorite in the franchise.
There you go.
Yeah, if I were to rank the Scream franchise, which I did before, and when I did the series last year, I put Scream number 1, Scream number 4 second, second, and Scream 2 third, and Scream 3 fourth.
Nice. You know, that's not a bad lineup. I'll say that. That's not a bad lineup at all.
Well,
that's awesome.
This was a ton of fun, but we're not done. We have one more ScreamFest 2021 video to come. We'll be discussing Scream 5 and also ranking the first 4 Scream films like Steven let us know. So don't forget to smash the like and bell buttons right now. And so you'll be notified when our Scream 5 video comes out. And that's it now for everyone. Once again, this is Michael.
This is Steven, and we are the Movie Bros. And our special guest, the Horror Miser, Monty G.
And always remember that horror rules.